Hello and welcome to the Rainbow Review. I'm your host, Ramin.
And filling in for Trevor Allen, I'm Ben Waddell.
And let's get started, shall we? In today's news, the Pentagon has issued a new guidance that pauses the trans ban. It allows military servicemen who are trans to temporarily re-enlist in the military for full service and therefore receive full benefits from the government for their health care. This comes as Defense Secretary Jim Mathis issued a private letter to top brass of the U.S. military, stating that the Pentagon officials will currently allow the military to continue having the trans soldiers serve until such time as the finer details of the ban are really hammered out. They are still going through with the procedure of banning the trans people from serving in the military, but that is not going to go into entirely full effect until at least February 21st. So until then, the military is allowing trans people to re-enlist in full service. Senator John McCain has sent an open letter to President Trump urging him to rescind the ban entirely, stating that with the military service being less than 1% of the population, we need every soldier we can get, and they shouldn't rely on gender, sexuality, religion, or gender identity. Sarah McBride, the National Press Secretary, said that this shows that there is clear opposition to President Trump's ban, and that this could be the beginnings of something greater.
John McCain also went a step further just the other day when he actually co-sponsored a bill to permanently ban the trans military ban. John McCain sponsored the bill along with two other senators, the senator from Arizona and another one, and basically said that, this is his quote, "We should welcome all those who are willing to serve." Like Ramin mentioned, there's only less than 1% of the U.S. population serving the military, and this block would be a permanent block. They tried to add it in the previous military defense spending bill, but head of the Senate blocked that when they were adding things to the bill and making additions. He turned that off. So now McCain is actually coming around with this way, blocking it permanently so that the trans ban would completely be shut down. The bill will now go to committee. Luckily, it's going to actually go to John McCain's committee. So the ban should go, the block should go right through committee, go right out to the House floor for debates, and we should be seeing that here pretty soon.
In the country of Tanzania, in the semi-autonomous region of Zanzibar, over 20 individuals have been arrested by police for participating in homosexual activities. Earlier this week, the police arrested 12 women and 8 men in Zanzibar for violating the laws against homosexuality. In Tanzania and Zanzibar, it is currently illegal to be gay, and any person caught who has carnal knowledge with any person against the natural order of nature could spend 30 to full years, could be put away in jail for 30 to life. In addition, there are also several other indecency laws that could fine a person up to 5 years and 30,000 shillings, which is the equivalent of $134 in fines. This comes as the LGBT community has been under attack in Tanzania and Zanzibar, specifically since last year when the Home Affairs Minister, and I apologize for mispronouncing the name, Mwigulu Nchemba, said that activists are also no longer safe in the community, and that the government is now going after not only those who participate in homosexual acts, but also those activists, protesters, and allies who are trying to advance the LGBT agenda. Nchemba stated that people who fight for LGBT rights in his country may be deported and arrested. This also comes about a year after. Earlier this year, the government also shut down 40 independently run health clinics that were giving out medical aid and HIV prevention, treatment for HIV, because, well, it's associated with homosexuality.
Awful stuff. All right, we turn now to Washington, D.C. Yesterday, Saturday, September 16th in Washington, D.C., the mother of all rallies was supposed to have gone down. The rally organizers felt that at least 6,000 people would be attending, and then it would be, as they called it, this is the official name, the mother of all rallies. They likened it to being the Woodstock of rallies, Woodstock being a famous music festival that had thousands upon thousands of people showing up. They didn't get 1,000 upon thousands of people. They barely got 1,000. According to their website, they had at least 1,000 people attend. According to Fox News, they had around 500. And according to a couple other websites, it was more like 150. Oddly enough, there was also a rally for the Juggalos happening nearby. A march for the Juggalos to no longer be declared a gang by the FBI. The Juggalo rally easily had well over 1,000 people. And many of the counter-protesters who showed up for the mother of all rallies abandoned their cause when they saw that the mother of all rallies was actually poorly attended and went and started protesting against the Juggalos. So not a very good protest for a group that was really out there in support of Trump. And you can really see that the low 30s approval rate really showing up in the mother of all rallies. So, Ramin?
A church organization that fired one of its volunteers for being gay this last weekend. The Cavalry Church in Friendswood, Texas, dismissed one of its volunteers upon finding out that this woman was both Jewish and a lesbian. The woman's name was Carmen Hicks, who took a week off of work to volunteer to give aid and shelter to the Houston area, and donated about $500 of her own personal money to the Cavalry Church. And throughout the week, it was going pretty well for a while there, until she was pulled aside by the church pastor, Reverend Hint, and she believed he was going to ask her about further volunteer work she could be doing, when he told her that she was no longer welcome as a volunteer because she had kept saying shalom to everybody. Upon finding out she was Jewish, he dismissed her outright. Dismayed and disheartened, she went home and called the church up again to, complain about how she was wrongfully terminated or dismissed. And the church invited her back. Yet when she came to speak to the pastor a second time, he questioned her on her sexuality, stating that it would not be proper for a lesbian, because lesbians are sinful, to represent the church. She then reprimanded the pastor, saying that he should be ashamed to call himself a Christian for just being very unpleasant, let's say. The church put out a later statement stating that it invited her and that the church invited Carmen and her partner to attend church services. Carmen disputes that, stating that the church invited her and her partner over to convince them that being lesbian is sinful and that her marriage of 20 years is an affront in the eyes of God. So much for Christianly charity.
That's rough. All right. Well, in other news, possibly good news here, the transgender child restriction laws are actually changing here pretty soon. Not necessarily laws, but guidelines put forth by the Endocrine Society. The Endocrine Society is the organization within the medical community that passes down recommendations for how children with, or how anybody with transgender issues who's becoming transgender, going through the transition, will use hormone therapy and things like that. They are changing the rules for children. In the past, the rule has been that hormones and other parts of the procedures wouldn't be done until the child was older than 16. They are now doing away with that and actually encouraging both hair and clothing changes much earlier, and also hormone changes. Still not going as far as permanent physical changes, but that the hormone changes might ease the transition through puberty, that someone who is identifying as a woman might feel even more out of place as they go through male puberty, and that the hormones would, of course, suppress a lot of that. A lot of doctors, of course, are already giving pushback on this, and really anytime you make changes like this, there's always going to be a contingent of doctors that push back and other doctors that accept it willingly. The rules are still specifically stating that the child must see a licensed medical professional for mental evaluation, physical evaluation, to make sure that they're ready for this, and that person must sign off before the hormone treatments are being given. So, changes in that area.
Longtime stand-up comedian and transgender activist Eddie Izzard is running for Parliament in the UK. Eddie Izzard, who has been an outstanding spokesperson for the LGBT community, and specifically the transgender community, is stated that he is going to be running for Parliament and hopes to become the first British MP who is openly transgender. Though there has been a relatively high degree of MPs who have identified as bisexual, gay, or lesbian, there has, as of yet, not been a single openly transgender member of British Parliament. Izzard has said that he will give up his career in order to run for office if elected, and he plans to run as part of the Labour Party in 2021. He made a similar bid for Parliament earlier in earlier years, but lost out on several occasions, and was planning to run again in 2018 before the current Prime Minister's failed power grab shifted the dynamics of power a little bit there. So Izzard is remarkably funny and very poignant, and will be running for Parliament. Best of luck in 2021.
Absolutely. Eddie Izzard is a treasure. Love his work. An author in the Ukraine, a children's author in the Ukraine, is now receiving death threats after her latest book, Maya and Her Mums, has drawn critical reception from some of that country's more violent opposition. The book features 17 different family types and their different relationships, but the opponents of the book specifically are looking at one part that specifically deals with the character Maya having lesbian mothers. The group that runs the children's books there is saying that this is the first time that a children's author has been threatened with death. The people are saying that the book spits in the face of traditional family values and really in the face of the country of Ukraine and really Russia's point and then their stance on gays in the world. They also have been talking about how the book is propaganda now for the leftist or progressive way of thinking that families can be all different types of things. It's interesting to know, though, that they're not disputing any of the other 17 different family types that are in the book, including families of grandparents, families of single parents, families that had adopted a child, or families that had in vitro. None of those are a problem for them. Specifically, it is just the two lesbian mothers. So the author was scheduled to appear at a conference of authors to discuss her book and also to read and sign copies. That appearance has now been canceled because of these death threats and the other threats both on her person and then also on the conference as a whole. So sad news there for the author in the Ukraine. It's a bummer.
Tragic. Not even were they disputing the parents who were of two men?
They actually aren't in the book. That wasn't one of the ones in the book. It was the only homosexual couple in the book was with two women.
Oh, I see.
So they probably would have, though. I mean,
probably
based on how they felt about the two women.
Yeah. Some people in Ukraine are very right-leaning tendencies towards Russia.
Yeah.
So, in other news, Trump has appointed another head of a major organization who is, surprise, surprise, an outright homophobe and a climate change denier. Specifically, the head of NASA will now be Congressman Jim Burdenstein from Oklahoma, who is both a climate change denier and a homophobe. He has come out publicly against in 2013, he publicly came out against the Supreme Court's decision to legalize gay marriage, stating that, well, what Republicans always say in this instance, that studies show, without actually citing any studies whatsoever, that it is necessary for both a mother and a father to raise happy and healthy children. So, right. He also came out against President Obama as early as last year for putting in measurements to protect transgender children and allow them to go to the bathroom in their home states. He's also an open climate change denier and now the head of NASA, a man with no background in science whatsoever, but a hardcore Republican. Sarah Kate Ellis, the head of GLAAD, said that well, not only is this is not surprising at all, as Trump has been appointing homophobic heads of the government since day one in office, and that it's necessary, and that NASA, it's necessary for NASA to have the best and the brightest present their best selves to them in order to help the organization flourish, and that's just not possible whatsoever if employees are afraid to lose their jobs. When it's known that the head of their organization is first and foremost anti-LGBT. So,
and it sounds like anti-science.
And anti-science, yes. NASA scientists have been quietly dismayed by this, but no public statement has yet been come out from the head scientists.
How do you put somebody who's against climate change in charge of the group that gets to look at the planet as a whole?
Yeah.
That's that seems nuts.
Don't believe your lying eyes. The
Yeah.
data is wrong.
Yeah.
What data?
All right, next up, some good news out of Hong Kong. They are lifting their lifetime blood ban. They had a blood ban just recently for all homosexual men for life, that they were never allowed to give blood. That ban has now been lifted. The country is in desperate need of blood, and the Red Cross has advised the country to lift the ban, and they have. They do still have somewhat of a ban. They're moving from a lifetime ban to a 1-year ban, so that if you have been with a man and you are a man and you've been with another man within the last year, they still would not like you to give blood. This is similar to the ban, the move that a lot of other countries are making, including the UK, the US, Switzerland, Australia, and several other countries. The UK actually just recently moved that 1-year ban down to 3 months. Basically, this is all because blood testing abilities are becoming much better and better as time goes on. In fact, now they can test to see that if a sample is contaminated with AIDS or HIV within 6 days of the sample being given. So knowing that, it almost feels kind of bizarre to have any restriction. If, why don't you just take samples from everybody and then after 6 days test them, and if they show up as positive for HIV, throw them out. I don't know why they're not doing that. In fact, Ray Chan, the Hong Kong's first openly gay lawmaker, basically still says that it's unfair and that a ban of 1 year is still a ban. And you'd have to definitely look at that and kind of understand, because if you're going to just 1 year, you're still not allowing gay men, active gay men, to give blood. Basically what you're saying is, if you thought you were gay in the past, or if you're gay and just haven't been dating, you're really getting a very specific group of people. And studies have actually shown that allowing blood from men that have been with other men, it's not necessarily correlative, but since they've started allowing that group in, the blood samples have actually gotten safer and more secure. They're actually getting more blood and better blood since they started letting all those people in. I think now they're finally starting to realize that HIV and AIDS is not necessarily a gay problem, it is the whole world's problem, and that we need to stop identifying blood based on your sexual preference. So good for Hong Kong for lifting the ban, but hopefully we'll go that next step and do the rest of the work. So
to this day, I still can't give blood. Neither I or my. Anyways.
Yeah. And it's because it's not just you; it's your partner too. So and here's the thing: I'll tell you this:
monogamous couples, yes.
Even if your partner is a female partner, she can't give blood. I've known people that in high school I checked it out, but and it's a lifetime ban forever. Even if you tried it in high school, tried it in college, and then years later felt that it wasn't for you and went with and got married to a woman, now she can't give blood. It extends that far. It's amazing.
Interesting.
So luckily, it's like I said, Australia, UK, US, Switzerland, they've changed it now to that 1-year ban, which opens it up for some people, but hopefully in the future we can open it up to everybody. So, Remy?
A Christian group is breaking the mold for once and is actually helping the LGBT community. An organization called Faithful LGBT, founded by Eliel Cruz, is an organization that helps raise money for transgender individuals so they can have the necessary surgery to transition to the gender of their choice. This organization has raised the sum of $10,000 so they can help with their new campaign called #TitheTrans, tithe being a religious donation of some kind. So they could help bring the Christian community and the LGBT community together and help them, just sort of break barriers. This comes about the organization was founded about a month after the Nashville Statement was signed by President Trump, as well as 150 Christian pastors and religious organizational leaders who openly and outright condemned homosexuality as a sin. So the organization is going to be raising money and has been raising money and will donate that money to the Jim Collins Foundation so they can help, in their statement, help people have a sort of peace, peace of mind and peace in their own bodies. So even if a trans person has insurance, the insurance doesn't necessarily cover transitioning, and surgery can cost upwards of over, I believe, $90,000. So that is
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah. And Cruz also stated that I hope this will help Christians get to understand the LGBT community and just, erase some of the, let's just say, bad blood that more fundamentalist religious leaders have brought to the Christian community.
Well, and hopefully show the true nature of
Yeah.
Christianity and the
Yeah.
love that
This is that. This
it's
is
supposed
charity
to be a religion based on love and forgiveness and kindness.
and charity.
It's nice to actually
Yeah.
see that they're actually showing that. So that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Also in trans news, a city councillor in the UK, one Zoe Kirk-Robinson, is currently the victim of hate crimes in Bolton. Bolton is a small town just outside of Manchester. She and her partner are both facing verbal threats as they walk down the street there in Bolton. People will actually come right up to her in the street and yell death threats to her face, which is appalling. And then also she's at her home. They have been throwing rocks and bricks at her home. One of them actually almost hit her partner as it crashed through a window. And then just lately, she has had people actually coming into her backyard, which this is the part that just scares me. People coming into her backyard, destroying her garden, basically vandalizing and graffiti and things like that. And the worst part of all of it is when she calls the local police, they take her call, tell her someone's on their way, and then no one shows up. Anytime you call the police and they don't show up, it's the scariest thing in the world. And I don't care why you called them. It's a heart. Just my heart drops for that. As someone who's had to call the police before and waited, that waiting is so scary. And then to know that they never showed up at all, it's a chilling thought. So stick in there, keep doing what you're doing, and we're all hoping for the best for Zoe Kirk-Robinson there in Bolton. Scary stuff.
So it's no surprise that many members of the LGBT community are very upset over the Trump presidency and how President Trump has been handling himself. One such artist has decided to do something about it. The artist is a transgender individual originally from Canada, whose name I'm going to butcher. It's sorry about that. Castles. This artist is opening their second solo gallery at the New York City Gallery. Let me describe it. P. Lots and lots of P.
The letter P?
No, urine.
Oh.
Pissed. This artist is pissed, and that's the title of their new exposition. Pissed. This artist gathered 200 gallons of his own urine in order to build a gigantic fountain of urine.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, it's in order to protest the Trump's presidency, Trump's terrible mistreatment of transgender individuals. It's also an artistic piece stating that what is exactly your relationship to your body. It's supposed to make you think about that. This artist is very aware of bodily consciousness. So he gathered 200 gallons of his own urine in order to have it on display in the New York Museum.
I gotta say, I'd hate to see what happens when he gets tired of it and makes pooped.
Oh no! That's why.
I don't want to be anywhere near that fountain.
Yeah.
My goodness, it's a powerful statement, though. I mean, that's if you think about it. Like, how do you show you're more mad than building a giant fountain of urine?
The idea, the idea came to him earlier this year after President Trump rescinded Obama's transgender protections for children in the bathroom. You remember the bathroom situation?
Gosh.
Yeah. He was so pissed. He thought, I want to flood the White House with just piss. And that's when he came up with the idea.
That's amazing.
He also had to be very careful while setting up his exhibit, which was in the second story of the museum.
Oh, gosh.
Because if that had just leaked onto the bottom floors and just could have destroyed a lot of art. So they were very careful with 200 gallons of pee.
That'll ruin your day, man. Just having all that pee drop on you. My goodness. Well, thankfully, no one got peed on at
Go see the exhibit if you're in New York.
You're in New York, yeah. Heck, travel to New York.
I wonder what...
I mean, how often do you see 200 gallons of pee?
In a fountain.
Yeah.
What would that smell like? I wonder.
It can't smell good, right? I mean, that's just so much pee.
I don't know.
That's, yeah. All right. Another little piece of good news for tonight. Bad news that's turned into good news. 3 teenagers have been jailed for a hate crime in Uxbridge, United Kingdom. Last year on Valentine's Day, Phil Poole and his partner Zubinik Zatlukal, I had to look up how to say that, were attacked on Valentine's Day last year. They were kind of resting in a kind of carriage, parked car type thing, and the 3 teenagers came up. It was 3 young men. Two were 16, one was 17. The three of them descended upon them, started talking to them casually, and then just proceeded to beat them, mostly in the head and face. They're now okay, everything's fine. Of course, they were heavily bruised at the time. All three teenagers actually pled guilty to assault, and one of them actually pled guilty also to having I believe the term was an unusual weapon. Never heard of that charge. Usually it's just deadly weapon or something like that, but it's apparently in the UK it's an unusual weapon. All three assailants pled guilty and are now in jail. So little justice was served there on Valentine's Day, which is a good thing. So I think we're down to our last little bit of news. This was a new thing that I just saw earlier today, and I wanted to go ahead and throw it in there and discuss it.
Right.
There's a new South Park game coming out in stores. The last one was called the
Stick of Truth.
Stick of Truth. This one is called
Fractured Butthole.
Fractured Butthole. Now, the game in question, it's got an interesting system for their difficulty setting. In any video game, there's usually a difficulty setting. It can range from easy to normal to hard.
Right.
Their difficulty setting is basically set up based on your character, because you create a character to play as.
An avatar, yeah.
The avatar's skin color is its difficulty system. To make the game as real as possible, they chose the easy setting to be someone who looks an awful lot like me. And the more difficult the game gets, the more you end up looking a little closer to me. So with the person at the very end looking kind of the shade of Naomi Campbell.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, it's a very interesting thing. The other interesting choice the game made was that at a certain point in the game, you choose your gender, and you can either be cisgendered male or female, you can be non-binary and choose other, and of course you can be transgender male or female. The interesting thing about all of this is that any of those choices that are non-binary or trans change the game and also make the game harder. Immediately after leaving the school psychology office where you discuss this, you were then immediately met by a truck full of rednecks that you have to fight right off the bat. So it's you've just come out as non-binary or trans, and immediately you have to fight rednecks. I was watching this earlier and I couldn't decide whether or not I thought that they were being very real and very honest, and I should like that, or if they were somehow mocking the whole system. It doesn't necessarily feel like mocking because
Tongue-in-cheek?
It's a little tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, it's not wrong. I mean, it is real. Life gets harder, and this sucks, but I'll go ahead and recognize my privilege. I'm a cisgendered straight male, and I've got tons and tons of privilege. And it's, I don't even know what it's like to live without it. So I've never played on anything but the easy setting in this game. I don't know, like as someone who's part of both of these groups, do you find that offensive? Does that bother you?
No, not at all. I think it's poignant, it's sharp, it's biting, it's clever, it's also funny, and it's just kind of stupid. So everything good, South Park. And I'm on board with the idea of that. I mean, life does get harder the more certain people look a certain way. Life is just a little bit easier. We can't deny that. All right, and that concludes our program. I've been Ramin.
I've been Ben.
And this has been the Rainbow Review.
Oh, hi, you're the new kid, right? Oh, great, thanks for coming. Have a seat. As your counselor, you can talk to me about anything, okay? I understand you want to talk about sex. Okay, see, I'm highly trained in sex issues, okay? And you don't have to be afraid. Okay, new kid, it's really simple. When you want to talk about your sex, you can start by simply saying, I'm a boy or a girl or other. Okay. Other? So you're saying you're neither a boy nor a girl? So you don't believe you have a gender? Okay, can you just hang on a minute? I need to call your parents. Just take a second. Oh, hello, this is Mr. Mackey, the school counselor. Yes, hi. I have your child here in my office, and your child has just let me know that he, or they identify as being gender neutral. Oh, you knew that? Okay. Well, no, it's fine. It's just I believe everyone was under the impression that they were a boy. Okay. Yeah, no, that's great. That's great to know. I think I can really maybe be of help from here on out. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye-bye now. Okay. Okay. Well, this is a shocker, new kid. But there's nothing wrong with not identifying as a binary gender. You can be whatever sex you want. Okay. Even if it's not. That's fine. It's fine. Just be careful, okay? Because there's a lot of people out there who don't accept you for what you are, and you're gonna have to deal with them, okay? So, but come see me anytime.
Well, if it ain't one of them gender neutrals. We don't take kindly to your types around here.
Let's welcome Miss Flynn to our town.